Let's just go take a nap.
We can't, Derek.
I know. There's a
Scooby-Doo
Scooby-Doo episode to review. How did I know you were going to say that? Welcome to that Groovy Scoobcast.
Your go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo.
I'm your host, Derek.
And I'm Shannon.
And today we're going to be watching A Scary Night with a Snow Beast Fright from the Scooby-Doo Show. Surprisingly anticlimactic.
It was a good episode, just very dry.
If we don't sound interested in talking today, that's kind of the reason why.
Yeah.
Like that intro that we just did, that wasn't even a lie. Like, I think after we're done talking about this episode today, we're going to go take a nap.
Probably. It's just, it was a very dry episode. It left us very uninterested, but it was still a really good episode, which has us very confused.
We're conflicted.
Yes.
Well, before we start talking about the episode, we're going to kick off our Mystery Machine match, our weekly trivia competition where Shannon and I try to figure out which one of us knows Scooby-Doo better than the other. Right now, Shannon is sitting with 5 points while I am sitting with 2, so she is still maintaining a lead against me.
I think you might catch up this week.
You did say that my questions are easy.
Yeah.
I think yours are also easy, so...
We'll see.
Let's see if we can, both get some points out of today. As always, Shannon, you can go first.
Your first question, Derek. What color is Scooby-Dee's fur? Dark brown or snow white?
Snow White.
Correct.
Yay! I got a really fucking easy question that a kindergartner could have gotten. Here's your first question. What 2 letters are on Scooby-Doo's collar?
SD.
Oh my god, you're right! Oh my god, it's on the screen too.
I didn't even look up though, but I looked up after and I was like, LOL.
We have the TV screen on and it has Scooby and the gang on it, and yeah.
My answer was staring me right in the face.
What's your next question?
What kind of ball does Vincent Van Gogh use to help him see what's going on?
A crystal ball.
You're right!
Oh my god. Our listeners are so annoyed right now with us.
I'm annoyed with us.
Here's your next question. Which of the 4 Scooby-Doo friends is the tallest?
Shaggy.
Yep. You are correct.
Why
Because you
couldn't we
have
got-
eyes.
These are questions we needed for like the very first episode ever.
Instead, the first questions were just like, what Star Wars actor was also in Scooby-Doo? It's like, I don't know.
I don't fucking know.
What's your last question for me today?
The ghost of a mad blank chases the Scooby-Doo gang around Niagara Falls. A mad doctor or a mad scientist?
A scientist?
No.
It was a doctor?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was the one that I thought maybe you'd get wrong.
Oh. Well, here's your last question. In Bedlam in the Big Top, what villain hypnotizes the gang?
Isn't it a monkey? I don't know. Fuck.
It's a villain.
Oh, a villain?
Yeah.
Like I have to know their name?
I'm just gonna give you a hint. It's in a big top, which is like a circus. What kind of villain would be in a circus?
The ringleader.
Nope, it was a ghost clown.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo, where are you?
We haven't seen that one yet, and it's also been a really long time since I've seen that one, so my bad.
Well, today I'm finishing off with 4 points, and you're finishing with 6, so you're still maintaining a lead. Are you feeling excited about still having the lead after 3 episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm hoping. This is my season.
I don't think we mentioned last episode that we were going to be switching our chocolate-covered corn to chocolate pizza
I'm
at the
thinking
end
we
of
just
the
make
season.
like a chocolate-covered everything.
Just everything?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like we tried chocolate-covered
That
pizza,
can go in really bad
chocolate-covered
places.
corn.
After the sundae we had last season...
But like chocolate-covered ice cream is delicious.
Yeah, but chocolate-covered pizza?
I mean, if we just do like... If we make it like a dessert pizza, it might be good.
No, but I'm thinking it's like a meat lover's pizza.
With chocolate on it?
Yeah. Because you know that's what Shaggy and Scooby would eat. I mean, maybe not Shaggy because he's a vegetarian, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like a regular pizza, like a Little Caesars pizza. Little Caesars pizzas are gross on their own, but also add chocolate.
They're just so greasy. But, like, if we do, like, a meat lovers, it could be, like, sweet and salty, and that might be good. Whereas, like, corn...
I really don't think it will be.
Where, like, corn is just gonna be, like, nasty. Either way, like, I'm gonna die after.
That's still really far off, so let's not try and horrify ourselves right now.
No.
Instead, we are gonna start talking about our episode, A Scary Night with a Snow Beast Fright. Our premise for this episode is coming from Scoobypedia. The gang go to visit their friend, Professor Kruger, up in the North Pole, but he's disappeared before they get there. It turns out a fur-covered dinosaur is wandering around and may be the reason for the professor's disappearance.
I want to talk about the monster really quick.
Okay.
So the whole monster is covered in fur. He's white. He's actually really cool looking.
I love this monster in terms of design.
The only issue I have with it is he's got this, like, weird little, like, chicken hands.
Yes. I love that observation because it's true.
Like, his hands, like, it looks like a snow-covered beast just put on, like, flesh-covered gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just... There's no fur. There's still claws, but, like, it just reminds me of, like, if a chicken had hands.
Mm-hmm. I do really enjoy the sound design for this monster. I think like his roars are really unique. It's not something that you would kind of expect from a dinosaur, I think.
Which is funny because, like, it's a snow... Like, they call it the Snow Beast, but he definitely makes...
It's clearly like a T-Rex, just covered in fur. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Because he like, they definitely give him, like, a lot of dinosaur... growls and noises, which really, like, they reminded me of, like, the authenticity of, like, a Jurassic Park monster. Like, the noises were really good.
Yeah. And, you know, that thing can move, too. From what we saw in this episode, like, yeah, the Snow Beast, I think, is a really great villain. I think it's a really unique monster that the gang doesn't really have to encounter all that often.
No.
I'm curious, after we've seen this Snow Beast and Tyrone from the last episode we reviewed, if we're going to see any more dinosaurs this season.
I think it's really funny that, like, we do genuinely randomize these episodes, but we'll get so many that are, like, similar.
There's common characteristics between the episodes.
Yeah, and we'll get them in the same season, and then, like, in this case, back to back. And it's funny to me that, like, fate has that.
Well, the episode begins with Professor Kruger. He is a professor. We don't know of what, but he's a professor.
We know he's studying something at the North Pole.
I don't know if it's Inuit culture or if it's about, you know, the North Pole and electromagnetism and all that fun shit. I don't know. I don't know what he studies. No one says.
No.
But he is just kind of casually walking through the snow. We don't know where he's going. But he just seems lost. He seems genuinely lost. It's in the middle of the night in the North Pole. I think that's, for one, terrifying.
And a fair point to make that, like, he could genuinely be lost and I'd be okay with it.
Well, he looked like he was struggling to see. Yeah. You know, because it was snowing and, again, it's at night. He doesn't have a flashlight on him.
And it gets pitch black. Like, the sun is gone.
The moon is gone.
Everything is gone.
Everything is gone. And I don't know, the thing that I like about this scene, and it's more of a personal thing as opposed to something that anyone could enjoy, is I've actually had nightmares that take place in, like, a wintry nowhere's land.
I'm so sorry.
Like, in the middle of mountains and a snowstorm, and, like, just no one is there. I've had that dream several times, and it's fucking terrifying. So I identify with Professor Kruger right now.
I'm sorry, but that's a really scary dream to have.
It is, because it's just, there's no light.
Yeah.
There's no one to help you, and you might freeze to death. And then a fucking Snow Beast just comes out of nowhere to even worsen the situation.
He just snatches you up and takes you to prison.
And he just kind of says, no! And the Snow Beast roars, and he just, like, looks at him, and then they walk away.
Like, the scene's over, it's done.
We cut to Professor Kruger's photo in a newspaper that Velma is reading. They're on their way to see the professor.
The paper that they're reading is the National Examiner.
Well, we only see the Examiner part of the title.
But we assume it's the National Examiner because Fred's uncle owns that.
Well, he owns the Exaggerator. The National Exaggerator.
Damn.
Correction.
Okay.
They are not the same. Damn. Regardless, did the article say that the professor was missing?
No, it was like talking about something that he did.
Oh, I could have swore that it said that he was missing.
No, because the gang didn't know he was missing when they got there.
Oh, yeah. You know what? You're right. But yeah, they're on a plane. They're flying into the North Pole because for some reason the professor asked them to come.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start spoiling a little bit. The professor was having them come because he was growing suspicious about one of his colleagues, doing something nefarious or in the area. My first instinct is to not call 4 teenagers and a dog to come and investigate an illegal oil drilling when I could call, the Canadian authorities.
Okay, here's my thing. If he doesn't have any solid proof and right now he just has a hunch, he probably did go to the Canadian authorities or wherever they're at and was like, hey, just to let you know, I think there's something fishy going on. But most of the time, if they're like, do you have any proof? And you say, well, no, it's just a feeling. They're going to be like, okay, thanks, bye.
But didn't he have proof with those drawings of the totem poles?
I mean, they are just drawings of a totem pole.
I guess. But they also came up overnight.
Yeah.
And they're all 10 stories tall.
It's all fishy. But if you really don't want to take it, you're not going to. But if that's the only, if the kids are willing to do this for free, you're going to call them up.
They are. Yeah.
Because, I'd go to you for graphic design work if you're going to do it for free, rather than going to somebody that's going to charge me, $100.
The police aren't going to charge you $100.
No.
That's not how this works.
No. I'm saying the police already turned it down.
Our premium for investigating the murder of your mother is $10,000.
I'm saying the police already turned it down, so now he's looking to have somebody come investigate.
Okay. That's just what I was thinking throughout the entire episode, was just why did he call them?
I don't know, because they needed a new adventure.
So they do fly near the totem poles that we just mentioned.
Which
they're huge.
Yeah, we're told that they are the largest totem poles that at least the pilot has ever seen.
I mean, I would imagine anyone has ever seen, because they're fucking gigantic.
Well, because they're holding oil rigs inside, but yeah.
I would say that they're roughly 10 stories tall.
Yeah.
At least. I like that the pilot flew near them, because that's not hazardous in the middle of the North Pole.
He was like, let's go take a closer look, and then almost fucking killed everybody.
It's a winter storm outside. I think you should probably avoid said totem poles.
I feel like we should probably just land and not. Maybe that's an option.
So the pilot, lands and he tells them that they need to go to the Eskimo village. They need to ski there. The gang do pull out their skis, and now they're gonna, ride into the village. Scooby is terrified of using his skis, as I would be, because I will never ski in my life. I don't plan to do it ever.
Well.
Fun fact.
I had an ex-boyfriend that used to go, snowboarding every year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I always wanted to go.
See, I think I think snow sports are cool. It's not something that I would personally want to do.
No,
I don't think I would be good at it
well,
at all.
Well, I think while I was dating, this was forever ago, but I think he went one year and actually got a concussion or something.
Oh, lovely.
And I was just and because I was gonna go with him the next year, and then I think that's what made me say no. Well, and we broke up, but I think that was what.
Oh, and we broke up. That's also a reason why you didn't go with him on the snowboarding trip.
In the moment when I was yeah, I'm not gonna go with you next year. It was just you got a concussion. I'm good.
Also, we broke up.
Also, we broke up later on.
I know.
And I was well, I can't go now. I probably could have.
Scooby resorts to using snowshoes to walk in the snow. They're just tennis rackets, but...
No, those are a real thing.
I know, it's just the way they're drawn, they're just really clearly just tennis rackets.
I want some for here.
I mean, we need them right now.
Yeah. I do want to point out that Shaggy is the only one with a backpack.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Everybody else is just, got their snow, suits and stuff. Shaggy has a backpack. Later on, at the very end of the episode, we see the rest of the gang with, a duffel bag, that I'm assuming holds the rest of their stuff, but Shaggy's the only one with a backpack. And he consistently has it throughout the episode.
Oh, is it? Okay. I didn't really observe that.
It was something weird that I saw, and I was like, why doesn't anybody else have that?
Meanwhile, they arrive in the Eskimo village. All of the igloos are clearly destroyed. Yeah, they're completely smashed and damaged. And, like, they don't even notice that. They're just, like, looking around. They're like, I wonder where everyone is. Professor Kruger! Da-da-da. And then they realize that all the igloos are destroyed. It's like, what? Did you not realize this as you approached the igloo village? Like...
Well, and the funny thing is, there's, like, 1 or 2 igloos that are still standing.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, because the one igloo that like, Shaggy looks into...
Yeah.
And it turns out, and then there's, like, a polar bear or whatever behind him. Like, that was a weird scene. We'll get to that. And then there's the chief's igloo, and that one wasn't touched either.
But, like, all the other ones are clearly damaged and destroyed and abandoned.
Yeah.
Like, why was this not an initial observation when you guys arrived?
When you landed the plane and you were looking at where you were going, why didn't you see it?
Right. I noted that when Daphne and Velma were examining the destroyed igloos, their voices switched bodies. Because Daphne and Velma always do this. I think it's just because they're really good friends.
We're just not close enough. We can't switch voices.
One of these days, we're going to switch voices. You guys won't know because this is an audio podcast. But we're going to switch.
Happen.
It'll happen. So, like you said a moment ago, Shaggy does look inside of a igloo, and Scooby's right behind him, and then a polar bear just comes out of nowhere, and... is intimidating the two of them, and it attacks. They do all their antics, and they end up hiding inside the igloo, hugging a fish.
That they think is a polar bear.
Yes. Well, no, it's not that they think that polar bear. It's because Velma and Fred are looking inside the igloo at them, and they're like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, it was a polar bear. And they're like, you're hugging a fish.
And then he goes, ew, fish. So Shaggy hates fish.
I guess Shaggy just does not like the taste of fish.
I thought he ate anchovies, though.
Scooby-Doo.
Wait, did you say earlier that Shaggy's a vegetarian?
In some versions of the canon, yes, Shaggy is vegetarian.
Because I was like, we just ate pastrami on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's confusing.
And we also had...
You didn't know that about Shaggy? When he was
tacos.
When Casey Kasem was voicing Shaggy, I think it was more of an issue like in the 90s. Casey, I think, went on a vegetarian diet, and he no longer wanted to voice characters that weren't also vegetarian.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah. So there was like a Burger King commercial where Scooby and Shaggy were like pulling up in a Burger King drive-thru, and they had to have someone else voice Shaggy because Casey refused to do the commercial because it was for Burger King.
Casey, come on. Casey was so rich at that point, he was like, fuck your Burger King money. Casey Kasem, everybody.
Haunting Scooby-Doo from beyond the grave. So, after they come out of while they're inside the igloo, Scooby and Shaggy comment on this, like, warm pot that's inside, and Velma noted that it's, like, it's still warm, it looks like someone left in a hurry. Scooby thinks that it's food, so he goes to eat whatever's inside of it, and it turns out someone's just doing their laundry.
It was so gross.
Yes, he swallowed a whole thing of someone's pajamas.
Yeah, he swallowed, like, a few gulps of
someone's pajama
dirty,
onesie. Yeah.
Some dirty laundry water.
Good job, Scooby. He spat it out, though, but still.
Glad we're not eating dirty laundry water.
We could.
No. Properly fuck off.
Properly fuck off. Properly fuck off. The gang had exited the igloo first and was kind of walking off, and then Scooby was eating the laundry water. And so when Scooby came out, he was smelling the ground, like following the footprints to catch up with the gang, and accidentally fell into this like giant footprint that is obviously left by the Snow Beast. So he obviously freaks out and then like hightails it past the gang and falls into this big pile of snow. And they're like, yo, Scoob, what's up? Like, what just happened? And he like puts out his paw and it grows ginormous.
Like, if you've ever seen Adventure Time.
With Jake the dog, yeah.
Like, that's what happened.
He, like, pressed his giant paw now in the snow just to resemble, the Snow Beast's footprint. And they're just like, what?
And at first I thought maybe they were doing like an angled look, but like when Shaggy is standing next to the footprint that Scooby just made, it's still big.
Well, no, it was clearly supposed to be Scooby's paw becoming gigantic just because, cartoon physics. But I'm going to headcanon that Scooby has the alien race in him that is also the same alien race as Jake's morphing ability. Yeah. Well, yeah, because Jake is unique because spoilers for Adventure Time, guys. Jake is half dog and then half some kind of interdimensional being that also is able to body morph.
Okay.
Like, his dog family can't do that. It's the body morphing alien part of him that can do that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Scooby's the same thing.
Okay. I'll accept that because Shaggy's a wizard. Velma's
possessed right now. Yeah. Okay.
So I'll take it.
We'll take it. Okay.
And we know that he is an alien.
Yes.
So I'll take
that is canon.
Yeah.
That is absolute canon. But anyway, we now see a dog sled approaching the village. This is when we meet Chief Minook. He is apparently like the leader of this Eskimo tribe here. And the gang ask him, like, hey, we're looking for the professor. I like that they don't really name Professor Kruger. They just say, we're looking for the professor.
The professor.
The only professor.
We're assuming that in this vast land, there's only one professor.
You don't have any professors, guys.
You didn't go to college.
So Chief Minook knows who they're talking about and says that he was whisked away by the Snow Beast.
It's just accepted, by the way.
Because he says that in ancient legend, the Snow Beast would arise if man had settled in the sacred lands where they shouldn't be.
Yeah, so Chief Minook, being the asshole that he is, had built his
tribe. Because he acknowledges that his tribe is in that sacred land. So, like, okay, if the Snow Beast is real, that's your fucking fault.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the professors. Like, that's not the gangs. You can't blame
anybody but yourself.
That's your fault.
And
that's
you're the chief.
Exactly, right. You should be responsible, but you're not.
So, that was your dumbass decision to do.
And aside from that, he says that the rest of the tribe left because they were scared of the Snow Beast.
So you lost your entire tribe, too, by the way.
We don't know where they went. But we just know that they're not here because the animators didn't want to animate them. You know I'm right.
I mean, essentially, yeah. Their igloos got smashed and they were like, deuces, I'm out.
So Fred asks Chief Minook, like, where the professor was staying, and he points to this, like, little hut that's, a little bit separated from the igloos. So they go towards the hut. I don't know exactly where Chief Minook went. He just kind of hung out there with his dog sled for a moment. They go to the hut, and the door opens, and this French man, like, he's clearly, no, I think he even said he is French.
Yeah.
I didn't really get his name because his accent was so strong. I just know that his last name was, like, Baptiste. I think it was Baptiste.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go with
Baptiste. I missed it completely, so I will accept anything you say.
Okay. So Baptiste comes out, and they're just like, where's the professor? Because, again, he's the only professor.
Yeah.
Ever.
And
Baptiste answers him really quickly. Like, Baptiste is talking really quickly as well. Like, it's not even just the accent
Baptiste
he's supposed to have.
Get out.
He's trying to bolt. And he's just like, the professor is not here. He was taken away by the Snow Beast. You guys should do the same. You guys need to leave. Blah, 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 blah. And, like, he was not having the gang shit.
Mm-mm.
And I think it's funny because, spoiler alert, he's the villain. But also, this is the only time we see this guy before he's caught.
Like, the second he left, Derek goes, yeah, he's the villain.
Right. Because, I mean, obviously. So, yeah, Baptiste hops in a snowmobile and just takes off. It's like...
Never see him again.
Never see him again until the end of the episode. So the gang goes inside the hut to kind of investigate. They're looking for clues.
We found a mouse in a sweater.
Yes. It was really... Okay, you know what was weird about that scene? I wrote it down. So, Scooby finds a piece of cheese on the floor. It was clearly there so that they can try and capture the mouse. But when Scooby goes to eat the cheese, the mouse races out, grabs the cheese, and runs back in. And it's really quick, like, seeing the mouse on screen. Like, he doesn't stay there for long. Yeah. You don't even really see what he looks like. But you do see that he's wearing a sweater.
Yeah.
It's a really tiny detail because when Scooby reaches in to, like, try and get the cheese from the mouse, you don't see the mouse again.
No.
So, like, that was just a really odd detail that they made sure to include in this sequence.
It was just really funny because they put a lot of, like, really cute little details that, like, don't matter at all in this episode. So I did appreciate that for this episode. Because because I did write down a few other ones that they did.
Yeah.
But, like, the mouse was the first one that I caught, where it was just like, you didn't have to put a sweater on a mouse. The mouse was only on screen for 2 seconds.
You didn't even need that sequence at all.
You didn't. But... It was cute. I liked it. Good job.
Oh, you know what? We forgot to mention the female husky.
Oh, yes. Okay, so I did write it down, too.
Okay, you talk about it.
So, when the husky pack is coming in with Chief Minook.
Yeah, Minook.
The head of the pack is a female husky, and all of the rest of them are brown, and she's this, like, really pretty, like, gray.
It's like a light tan brown.
And she, like, when she first, like, parks, basically, and stops, she, like, has her tail over her face and is, like, blinking really fast.
At Scooby.
It was really cute.
She's got the hots for Scooby.
And Scooby's got the hots for her, because he, like, melts this little snow patch that he was standing on.
His heart was racing,
I don't know if you noticed it, but, like, you could watch his heart, and, like, it bounced up into his throat, and then it bounced, like, once or twice in his mouth, and then went back down to his throat.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny, because I was waiting for it to, like, come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But, like, it never did, and I was like, oh, they didn't take that step.
So these dogs have hots for each other, which is great. But
it was cute.
Yes. So back to the hut. After, Scooby played with the mouse, the rest of the gang are looking around, and Velma is now finding this piece of paper that has drawings of the totem poles we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Doesn't really mention anything about the drawings otherwise, but then I think they all just kind of heard something outside. Is that what happened?
So, the house kind of, like, shook a little bit, but it was, like, somebody was, like, knocking on the door almost. And so the shaking of the house kind of just made it seem like the house was maybe unsturdy.
Yes.
And what it actually turned out to be was that the Snow Beast picked up the fucking house.
Like you do. Scooby answers the door, sees the Snow Beast's eye. He turns around to look at Shaggy, and he says, it's for you. I think that's the funniest thing in the episode.
It was the best line, and I was really upset that, like, it was a visual and we couldn't do it as our opening line.
And that's the problem with this episode too. It's just that it's not super funny. It's not really a funny episode.
It's not. It's a.
There's more visual gags than there are, like, spoken gags.
But there's really only, like, 3 visual funny
Yeah, they're
gags.
far and in between.
Yeah, they're not.
But we do realize that the Snow Beast has picked up the hut. And he puts it down, and the rest of the gang are just like, oh my god, we need to go! So they all run out of the building and scatter.
Scooby hops in a kayak that's just laying there. Why there's a kayak in the middle of the North Pole, I don't know.
You see, I was thinking about that. I think that maybe the tribe use it when they're, like, traveling on icy water.
Or to, like, fish or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking the same thing, but, like, they're very I don't know. I guess you would.
It doesn't really look like there's a lot of, like, icy water around here. Yeah. This seems like a more solid area of ice that they're living on. Yes. I did note that after the kayak bit, Scooby goes and hides underneath one of 3 igloos, and then... he and the Snow Beast have this little bit where the Snow Beast keeps picking up igloos trying to find him, and he keeps popping up in different igloos, and, that's funny. The Snow Beast is not having any of the gang's shit, so he gives up and then finds Chief Minook and just takes him instead.
Yeah, like, that was probably one of the funniest things, too, because it was just, like...
It wasn't that the episode was trying to make it funny, it was just an observational joke.
Yeah, it was just because... Like, the gang's just giving him a hard time, and he's finally just like, fuck it, I'm taking this one, and grabs him and walks off. And it was just like, every time we watched this episode, I would just laugh at that one, because it was just like, fuck it, and he'd grab him and walk off. And he let out this, like, little roar thing of just like, ugh! Yeah,
he did sound frustrated. So the gang decide to try and follow the Snow Beast, which is not hard because they're following the tracks that are these gigantic. Giant footprints.
And Shaggy, and Freddy Finn says, like, we have to hurry so we don't lose his tracks. And I'm like,
it's going to take a while before they fill up, Fred. Yeah. You're not going to lose them. They're ultimately led to the totem poles, the giant totem poles. This is the first time that they're seeing them, like, outside the plane.
Yeah.
And Daphne even acknowledges, like, oh my god, they're huge.
Yeah,
like, they are gigantic. And they also find their second clue of the episode, which is the black snow. So there's, like, this blotch of black snow that's just hanging out. And Fred even says, I wonder. And then he gets cut off by something. I don't remember what. Yeah. But then Scooby runs up to the totem pole, and he's hearing, like, a sound inside, and he says it sounds like a heartbeat, which, you know, the whole gang is just like, what? And Vaughn was like, I think that's really strange. I wonder. And then they get cut off by the Snow Beast.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind that the gang was following the snow tracks with the dog sled, with, you know, Chief Manook's dog sled. When the Snow Beast attacks, the dog sled's just nowhere to be seen.
Okay, so what I think is that, like, the dog sled was probably, like, behind the totem poles, because as we watch them coming in, like, the screen cuts off as the dog sled is, like, in the middle of two of the totem poles. So I'm assuming it probably, like, went off and was, like, parked off to the side.
Yeah, I just like that the gang, like, scatter and they're hiding and shit. Yeah, like, they don't, but they just leave the rest of the dogs.
Yeah, they don't try to save the dogs at all. Like, they definitely leave them wherever they are, but
if they die, they die. Yeah. They're not Scooby. They're not Scooby.
It's just Scooby's girlfriend.
When the Snow Beast is attacking, Scooby ends up climbing the totem pole. He hops in, like, this opening in, like, a mouth or something in one of the facial features of the pole, which I thought was weird because there's an oil derrick inside the totem pole.
Wouldn't Scooby have seen it?
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, how did you not see the oil derrick?
Like, he climbed it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he climbed to the very top. And that's what the totem poles are there for.
Maybe he's never seen one, so maybe he doesn't know, like, what it looks like.
Maybe he thinks it's part of the structure of the totem pole. I'm only going to accept that because he's a dog.
Exactly. Like, he's a dog. He hasn't... It's not like he's...
If it was Velma or Fred inside, I would believe that they would have known. They would have acknowledged that it is definitely an oil derrick.
Honestly, even if it was, like, Daphne or Shaggy, like, they would have been like, there's something weird.
Someone would have been able to acknowledge it, but Scooby... Yeah, I can see Scooby not knowing what it is. Okay, I'll accept that. Scooby climbs on top of the totem pole, and he disguises himself as part of the totem pole so the Snow Beast doesn't see him, which I think is peculiar because Batiste, inside the Snow Beast, is the person who I imagine designed the totem poles. So how does he not know what the top of the totem poles look like?
Okay, the only reason I'm going to even, like, suggest that that's okay is because we know that he had partnered up with the Alaskan Pipeline, and so maybe that person designed them. But Batiste has been staring at them every day.
He has drawings of them in the office, though, too.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Because and even so, like, he's staring at him every day, so he has to know. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Scooby ends up freezing at the top of the totem pole. You know, the gang's all worried because they want him to come down.
Yeah, they're
nervous. He's scared to come down because he's afraid of heights. And which I think is also part of the reason why he didn't want to ski earlier in the episode. Mm-hmm. I think he was afraid of the heights.
Yeah.
So he stays up there and he freezes. He becomes a block of ice. He ultimately falls.
Pushed, yeah.
I think the wind just blew him off. And then Fred's just like, scatter!
Like, everybody's just like, fuck him! Run!
Well, what are they going to do? Catch it?
I mean, you could try.
He's a big block of ice.
I wouldn't let you shatter into a million pieces.
Oh, okay. So try catching me when I'm just a big block of ice.
Okay, look.
Falling from 10 stories high.
Fred literally does traps for a living. He can, like, maneuver something to catch Scooby.
All he has on him is a rope. What's he gonna fucking do with that rope?
Well, he has a duffel bag later on in the episode, so
he
where's that?
He doesn't have it on him.
They have a whole dog sled full of shit that they could have tried. I don't know. There could have been something. Anyway, they don't.
I'm imagining him pulling out the rope and, like, lassoing Scooby and just like whipping him around.
Anyway.
Scooby ends up landing on the ground. He lands on his tail that's also frozen. And
the girl dog.
Yeah, the girl dog thaws him out. She, like, rubs her nose on the ice.
She, like, flirts with him a little bit, and then he thaws out. Shaggy's the one that points it out, and he goes, like, ooh, she thawed him out.
Good job.
And then, like, Scooby gives, like, the most fuckboy response, and he's like, yeah. And I was just like, like, that whole scene just pissed me off. Like, I was just like, fuck you guys.
This only further illustrates that the girl dog is just a plot device. She doesn't actually matter.
We're never given a name, so she doesn't matter.
Right, yeah, basically. So now the gang are going to continue to follow the footprints, and it leads them to an ice cave, as Velma calls it.
Yeah.
I just love how blatant that she is. She's like, it's an ice cave.
Yep, it's a cave made of ice. Good job. What's your degree in?
We acknowledge that you and I both saw that the footprints become substantially smaller on the inside of the cave. Like,
he shrunk.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about how inconsistent the size of the Snow Beast is in this episode?
He's always big, but sometimes he's, like, not super big, and then other times he's, like, 50 feet.
Well, when we first saw him, when he picked up Professor Kruger in the opening scene, I would say that probably Professor Kruger was about the size of his head.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and, like, when he was holding him, like, he was probably, like, if Kruger is, let's just say, like, 6 feet tall, which I doubt
he's not, but let's just say
there was probably like 3 or 4 Krugers that could have fit between him and the ground.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was probably about the size of his head in that scene.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, and then later, when the gang first meet the Snow Beast, it's just fucking huge.
It's a monster.
Basically. I just think it's annoying how inconsistent the size of this monster is.
And, like, we know how big oil derricks are just by, like, going to school, that they're fucking huge. And, like, that's how big he is while they're standing next to the totem poles. He's, like, the size of the totem pole.
Well, yeah, because when he was attacking Scooby on top of the totem pole,
he's, like,
he was
level.
The same size as the totem pole.
So it's, like, it's just, he's so big, but then other times he's just not so big. Like, he's always big.
When he's inside the cave, he seems smaller.
Yeah.
But they do enter the cave. At some point, Scooby slips, and they all slip as a result, and they, like, fall into, like, a cliff
type thing. I don't know.
I don't know. They're in the ice cave.
Yeah.
It's an ice cave. They're now in the bottom of this, like, gorge inside the cave, which, from the looks of it, doesn't have, like, anywhere out except up. Like, the only way you can get out of it is to go up. So Fred pulls out that rope that I mentioned that we've never seen before. We don't know where it came from because he doesn't have a backpack like Shaggy.
Yeah.
And he lassos...
He pulled it out of his ass.
Yeah. Ew. He lassos something. We don't see what he lassos onto, but Daphne's just like, you did it, Fred! And Scooby has to climb it because Velma rationalizes that he is the lightest in the gang, which I call fucking bullshit.
Okay, so here's my logic behind it. Now, you have since told me differently, but a normal Great Dane is going to be between, a male Great Dane is between 120 and 200 pounds.
Yes, but I'm sourcing actual Scooby-Doo information where it does say that Scooby is 70 pounds.
So Scooby's malnourished.
Yes, he is underweight.
So if he is 70 pounds, then yes, he is the lightest one in the group.
But also, I call bullshit. Scooby is fucking huge.
Yeah. So they make Scooby climb up the rope. And what do you think is at the top of that rope?
The fucking Snow Beast. He's just standing on the rope, too. So, like,
That's what Fred lassoed.
He lassoed onto the Snow Beast's foot. And I like that the Snow Beast is just sitting there chilling.
He's just waiting.
He's waiting for Scooby to reach the top before he does anything. It's kind of like when the witch doctor was peeking around the wall at Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby, not doing anything.
Just waiting to be noticed.
We're all waiting to be noticed, Shannon. And Scooby, like, freaks out, and he, basically skids all the way down the rope. And they're like, oh no! And then they suddenly have a new way to go, to get out of the gorge. They just start walking, and they're fine.
They're okay.
They find 2 sets of tunnels, which Shaggy was scared for a moment because they look like the eyes of the Snow Beast. Which they do. They do look like that.
Like, there's the snow, like, there's the tunnel eyes, and then
each of the tunnels are, the eyes.
Yeah, and then, but, like, the entrances at the top also had, like, eyebrows.
Yeah, it did look kind of like a facial structure that would be around the eyes.
It was weird. Because my first thought was, like, somehow they went inside of the Snow Beast.
Oh, they're inside the costume?
Like, I was like, oh, somehow they got inside. And then, I mean, obviously that's not what happened, but it was just like, I was waiting for that.
I think it was Fred and Velma that acknowledged that the tunnels were lit. They're lit! Yeah.
I think Shaggy said it because Velma was like, I think Shaggy said that the tunnels were lit up because then Velma responded with, but why would electric lights be in a snow cave?
I don't know. It doesn't matter who said it, but it just establishes that the tunnels are man-made.
Yeah.
And clearly the ice cave in general is, for the most part, probably man-made.
Yeah.
So they decide to split up.
Of course.
Scooby and Shaggy go down one. Fred, Daphne, and Velma go down the other. Scooby has to get a Scooby snack in order to go. Shaggy doesn't get shit. And
that's okay, because Shaggy is an asshole throughout this entire episode. So.
He's always an asshole, though, so it's fine. So Fred, Daphne, and Velma, they take the tunnel all the way to the end where they discover a submarine in an underground lake. Okay.
The second I saw the submarine, I looked at Derek and I was like, okay, so the FBI's here?
Like in the Scooby the Barbarian episode.
Every time there's a ship,
a submarine or something,
the FBI's here.
Yeah. And then they discover a huge pile of black snow. And, Velma says, I think the clues are all beginning to come together now, even though they already knew what was happening to begin with. But, that's fine. Shaggy and Scooby take their tunnel all the way to the end because they get chased by the Snow Beast at one point in the tunnel. At the end of this tunnel is just a cliff. There's nothing past it except a giant icicle. How did Shaggy end up on the ground?
Okay, so they both...
Because Scooby grabs onto the icicle.
No. So they both jumped on the icicle, and Shaggy, slid down it, but he reached the end, whereas when Scooby jumped on it, the Snow Beast, smacked it.
Yeah, he smacked the shit out of it, and it broke off.
It fell. But, Shaggy got out of the way, and then Scooby just fell and almost died.
But based on the animation of Scooby falling, it looks like it was a significant drop, so I'm surprised Shaggy didn't shatter his legs, but...
Hey, he's a world-class gymnast.
And a wizard.
So, he's got this.
So, Scooby's hopping on the icicle, chasing up after Shaggy, and the Snow Beast jumps from the cliff and just lands, and he's now chasing them. And like I said before, that Snow Beast can fucking move. It's quick.
Honestly,
it's agile.
This specific, just the tunnels, or maybe this whole episode, would be an interesting video game.
I think so.
Better than any of the video games that we're gonna play.
For Scooby-Doo on the podcast? Yeah. Yes. They kind of reach a dead end, and they, panic, make a bunch of, snowballs, and they, make a huge wall of snow, hoping that it'll stop the Snow Beast.
If we ever have a snowball fight, I want them on my team.
Agreed. And the Snow Beast just burst through it because that did not stop him at all.
Because they were just snowballs.
And Shaggy and Scooby now pull on this, dentist gag where Shaggy's a dentist, Scooby's an assistant, and Shaggy's just checking out the Snow Beast's mouth, and he's like, this isn't too bad for a Snow Beast your age. And
I liked that. That was a cute little thing that he said, because I was like, aw.
They have a giant toothbrush and toothpaste dispenser. And
how?
He's just brushing his teeth, and then he brushes the Snow Beast's nose.
See, Shaggy always does something to fuck up the bit. Everybody was fine until you touched his nose.
Well, they do something that'll distract the monster, and then he does something to piss it off.
Yeah.
And then...
Every time.
And then they wonder why the monster attacks them further.
Yeah. It's you just had to brush his teeth and then leave.
But it doesn't work, and then, they end up having to run away from him again. We cut back to Velma, Daphne, and Fred. They have now discovered a staircase of ice that, at first when we see it, it's crooked on the screen.
It was the whole thing.
It was a bizarre
was
animation.
Weird. Everybody's walking all slanted and weird.
They're wondering where they're going, and then they start to hear the professor yelling for help. Help! That's what he sounded like, guys.
It was the funniest thing ever.
They're locked behind a door, an actual wooden door, which I call the ice dungeon.
Yeah.
And they find...
That's as creative as Velma calling it the ice
cave.
By the way.
Yeah. So inside the ice dungeon, they find Professor Kruger and Chief Manook. And, the professor explains, the Snow Beast grabbed me and blah, blah, blah. And, then they get reunited with Shaggy and Scooby, because I'm assuming that after Fred, Daphne, and Velma came down the staircase, they were now on the same level as Scooby and Shaggy when they fell off the cliff.
Yeah.
And, now they've all reunited. They need to find a way out. They made it sound really urgent for some reason. Like, we need to get out now before the whole place collapses or something.
Like, we gotta get them out now.
And they find this miraculous staircase that leads up into the middle of fucking nowhere in the middle of the North Pole.
I loved it.
I just loved that this staircase that leads up to the surface, there's no cover to it.
No.
It's not hidden. It's just stairs that just come up into the ice.
And honestly, they're snow stairs, and, like, there's snow on top. So it's not like they're a wooden door hinge or anything.
Yeah, no.
So
there's no cover to it.
No. So, like, the second there's a snowstorm, that's getting buried.
I like that when they came up out of the staircase, and, now they're up on the surface level. They're outside. But Daphne and Velma, their first bits of dialogue that they both said when they got out was also echoey, as if they were still inside the caves.
Oh, the whole conversation, because even as wait, because then the staircase from the snow cave led right up to where the totem poles are.
Or somewhere around it, yeah.
Yeah, because they were right there, because everybody's still echoing, and Fred was, like, throwing snow on the ice or something, and he was like, if we can just get him
right.
there, and he's still echoing. Like, that whole scene
was just echoey, as if they were still in the cave.
Yeah.
That was just a weird error, I guess, on their part.
It was a weird error, because, like, they did all of that extra work to make it echoey when you didn't need to.
Well, on top of that, I also had to, like, just do a double take to make sure they were outside, because at first I kind of believed they were still inside the cave.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're completely outside. There's no reason why there should still be an echo, but
okay.
So Fred does say that if they cover this sheet of ice area with snow, they'll be able to trip up the Snow Beast. They kind of force Scooby into doing it. So, Fred's like, we need some volunteers. Shaggy, like, backs up from Scooby, making Scooby the volunteer. And
everybody goes with it.
Yeah. I mean, Velma did give him Scooby snacks, though. Again.
Yeah, whatever.
So he's banking on Scooby snacks this episode.
Well, he's malnourished. That's all he's eating.
So Scooby goes to the entrance of the ice cave. We see, like, the Snow Beast's butt and tail just hanging out of the entrance.
Yeah.
And Shannon and I were both wondering, like, what the fuck is he doing inside the Snow Beast costume right now?
He's just hanging out.
Just chilling. He's not doing anything.
No.
Like, we know that Batiste is inside the costume.
But he's just
Is he pretending to sleep? Like,
wonder,
what is he doing?
I wonder if he, like, if inside, like, the Snow Beast was basically, like, laying down and he was, like, crawling out of his mouth and, like, doing whatever he needed to do. And then when he, like, heard Scooby, like, knocking on his butt and stuff, like, he ran back inside and then...
He was quick then, if that's the case.
I mean, he talks fast, run fast.
This man is a quick man.
Yeah, he's fast.
Now, the Snow Beast is chasing Scooby back to the totem poles. The plan actually goes, exactly how it should have been.
Beautiful.
There was no mess up. Scooby slips on the ice. The Snow Beast slips on the ice.
It went better than how they planned it, because after the Snow Beast slipped on the ice, he even, like, with his tail, shoved Scooby out of the way and, like, sent him back to, like, protect him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he slammed up against the totem pole, which then split in half, showing the oil rig. When it split in half, it knocked onto the Snow Beast and knocked his head off.
It, like, tore apart the costume.
Yeah, and then, like, busted up the costume so that we now see Batiste inside of the costume.
Mm-hmm. I'm really surprised that when the Snow Beast fell, it didn't shatter the ice, and he just didn't go through the ice and drown.
That would have been another ending.
Now we shift over to the next day, and...
Was it the next day?
Yeah, there was sun outside. It was daylight.
Or was there maybe Fred was just seeing the sun?
Oh, Fred's just hallucinating the sun again. Yeah. Fred basically says that the plan that Batiste was orchestrating here was really simple, which it was.
Yeah.
He explains that Batiste had discovered the black snow and the oil lake while doing some research for Professor Kruger. As a result, he made the Snow Beast to take advantage of the myth, that the Eskimos believe in, scare them off from their little village, and then he teamed up with someone that works, in drilling with the Alaskan Pipe Company, and they just built the oil derricks and disguised them as totem poles, and then Professor Kruger became suspicious. That's what Shaggy said. He became suspicious, and I guess that's when he called the gang, and then he disappeared. And that's
that's
basically it.
Yeah, that's what happened.
They were using the submarine to export the oil,
back to America.
out of, back to America. So, for one, this is wildly illegal.
You know what? The southern wall is not the border we need to be watching.
But the thing is, like, I think this would be technically Canada where this is. So, like, they're not in the United States anymore.
No, and even if it's in, like, the North Pole and, like, that plot of ice, like, that's still not America. None of this is America.
It's wildly illegal to drill there, for one.
Without permission, yeah.
I don't even think countries are supposed to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But on top of that, this is all, like, going under the table, and I guess the oil's just being exported to Alaska? I'm assuming. Okay, because we drill in Alaska, so I'm assuming, like, they brought it to Alaska and then was like, look, we found more! Yeah.
But either way, like, the Alaskan Pipe Company knew that this was wrong because they built fucking totem poles to hide their oil rigs.
Right.
So, like, fuck off.
Like, don't even tell me they didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, for one, they know they're not supposed to drill there, and then also disguise their oil derricks. A tiny detail that you pointed out was that when the gang was ready to hop on their plane and leave, Daphne and Velma had their duffel bags, and it had the letters D and V on their bags, which, again, it's like that mouse with the sweater. Like, it's a little detail that
you didn't need, but it was cute that you had it.
Yeah.
Well, and then Fred had his duffel bag over his shoulder. But
I'm assuming there was an F on it.
I'd like to imagine that there's an F there.
Yeah. So they're wondering where Scooby is.
So he's fishing with his tail in the water. And then all of a sudden he, like, gets a bite on his tail. And he, like, starts getting dragged into the water. Into which she's just standing there watching this happen. This
the she-dog, yeah.
And so so finally Scooby gets the strength and pulls himself back up onto land. And you see that this, I think it was a walrus, had a hold on his tail this whole time. And so the walrus is, like, in the water and then goes back in the water, whatever.
Scooby bounces around the ice now.
And like, never hits her. She's, like, straight in the middle. And he, like, bounces around these, like, 4 or 5...
blocks of ice.
And then slides into a crack in the ice. And then comes back up with a fish. It was a lot.
The fish looks pissed, too.
Yeah.
By the way.
That's fair.
But Scooby does his usual Scooby-Dooby-Doo. The episode ends, and that was a scary night with the Snow Beast Fright. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
So, Shannon, what is your Scooby Snackometer rating for this episode?
Okay, I have to talk this out. So, if this episode had just been, like, a little bit funnier, because it was comedic, but just not, the comedic timing was weird on it. Had it been a little bit more funny, like we've been seeing, where you and I, like, crack up the whole time and whatever, I would have absolutely no issue giving this episode, like, a 7. Because it just wasn't really, like, there all the way for me, but I did still really like the episode. I want to give it a 6.
Okay.
I think that's a fair rating. You know, like I said, the episode just wasn't fully there, but I still did enjoy the episode.
Mm-hmm. I'm also going to agree with you. I'm going to give it a 6 too, because I just did not laugh in this episode as much as we do other episodes. Like, even bad episodes that we watch, they're still funny to watch. This episode, I just don't really feel like I laughed a lot. No. The mystery was solid. I think that the mystery was well thought out.
The monster was really cool.
I didn't have a lot of questions about the story in terms of the mystery or, you know, the logic of the gang throughout their investigation. But it's just, the episode's not anything special. It's not special. Mm-mm. The monster is really good. I think the monster is a great monster. I wish that he would return in a better episode that's more funny, maybe a little bit more entertaining.
And honestly, like, this is a monster that I would be perfectly fine seeing in, like, a movie. Like, when we do, like, when Scooby-Doo 2 and, like, they remake all the monsters and stuff. Like, this is a monster I wouldn't mind seeing again. You know, they never would do it, but
no.
But I'd be okay with it.
It's something I would like to see.
Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, it's not a bad episode. I definitely think that a Scooby-Doo fan would enjoy it. It's just not the most entertaining one out there. So a 6 is fair in my opinion. And with your 6 and my 6, we're giving it a 6.
Woohoo.
And with that was A Scary Night with a Snow Beast Fright. So do you want to hear a fun fact for the week?
Yeah.
Just how dare I if I don't have one, right? So in issue number 46 of the Scooby-Doo Team Up comic book series, there is a moment where Fred describes to another character what he and all of his friends' majors are in college.
Really?
It is actually established in this comic what they are all studying in college, which we questioned when we teamed up with Scott when he did his Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed podcast.
All right, Scott, let's see if we were right.
Right. So, we're not. So,
you mean Daphne didn't go into marketing?
No, she didn't. So, we'll start off with Fred. Fred is studying engineering.
Okay.
Velma went into criminology.
Sure.
Shaggy is studying cooking.
Yeah, obviously.
Culinary,
yeah.
I think would be a more appropriate term. Scooby is taking classes at an obedience school.
Cute.
Okay, that's a cute way of incorporating the dog character. And then there's Daphne, who is studying semiotics and molecular neurobiology.
Oh.
This is a real thing, guys. I'm not kidding. I'm not bullshitting with you. They're all studying online. You know, while they're in the Mystery Machine on their travels, they all study online, which is cool.
Cute. I like
Good for them.
Velma, how is criminology helping you at your job at NASA?
That's what I was thinking. What does criminology have anything to do with NASA? But
also, like, I want to talk about Daphne, because I am very, very excited about Daphne. She's had some really big, like, character developments, especially lately, but then, like, I know it's been happening, like, years in the making. But she is becoming such, like, a team leader. They're really showing that, like, she is, like, a really smart person.
She's a great asset to the team.
Yeah, and so she's not, you know, like I said, years in the making, but it's really glowing right now, where she's not just the pretty face.
Yeah.
She's got so much to offer.
Well, I mean, she's studying semiotics and molecular neurobiology.
Right there.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
That kind of tells me she's smarter than Velma. You know?
I disagree, but she's smart. Daphne is smart.
Everyone keeps talking about Shaggy's power. I want to know what happens when Daphne unleashes 100% of her power.
Those fucking Shaggy's power memes. So, we now have at least a definitive explanation of what the gang pursued after graduating high school.
Yeah.
So, in Scooby-Doo news, the Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost came out on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, and I don't think we've watched it yet.
No, not yet, but we're working on it.
Yes. And aside from that, I think I mentioned last week the new Scooby-Doo Pop Funkos that are coming out. There will be a Scooby and Shaggy Pop Funko, each, you know, carrying their sandwiches. And then there's going to be Funkos of the Ghost Clown, the Green Ghost, the Space Kook, and the Witch Doctor. And there's also the Scooby-Doo Pop Funko keychain, which I will definitely be picking up multiple of. And then also just sharing with you guys, if you haven't heard already, that Scooby Apocalypse is being discontinued in April. So for the Scooby Apocalypse fans... Sorry. I'm just as devastated as you are.
I haven't read them yet.
We will one day.
One day.
So are you ready to figure out what we're watching next week?
Of course.
Okay. Our episode is going to be coming from the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo series, the first one. So are you ready to hit that randomizer?
Yeah.
All right.
Next week, we will be watching the Rocky Mountain Yee.
Yee!
Rocky Mountain Yee!
I want to spell it for you guys. So there's Y, I, exclamation point. So this episode's premise is coming from Scoobypedia today. The kids take a vacation to Pratt's Ski Lodge, but they're not the only ones. Pretty soon, the ghost of Jeremiah Pratt shows up to look for his lost caravan and a fortune of gold.
He looks terrifying.
From the picture that we're seeing, yeah.
So I'm interested.
But we will wait until next week to talk about this one.
Of course.
So if you would like to talk to us about a scary night with a Snow Beast Fright, or Rocky Mountain Yee, or anything Scooby-Doo related for that matter, you can contact us on Twitter or Tumblr. Our Twitter handle is at Groovy Scoobcast, and you can find us on Tumblr at That Groovy Scoobcast. Our website is www.thatgroovyscoobcast.com, and our email is thatgroovyscoobcast@gmail.com.
You can also contact us both on our personal Twitters. Derek's is at Derek T. Queen, and mine is at Shanny892, 2 N's and 2 Y's.
And with that, we hope that you enjoyed this week's That Groovy Scoobcast.
Come back next week for a Scooby snack-filled time.
Bye, guys.
Bye!